Well, hello everyone, and this is a pretty busy week here in week 6, and we've got an exam added this week also. So let's get started and explain the work for the week. Before we get to our work, let's go and take a look at this week in the history of American politics. This event is the first African American Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, was a champion of civil rights, both on the bench and throughout almost 30 Supreme Court victories argued before the court, and he grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. He experienced the racial discrimination that shaped his passion for the civil rights early in his life. So it is Thurgood Marshall, sworn in as the first African American Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court on October 2nd, 1967. Thurgood Marshall, sworn in as the first African American Associate Justice. That's a lot in my mouth for some reason. He served until 1991 and was known for opposing discrimination, the death penalty, and for championing free speech and civil liberties. Marshall's mother was a kindergarten teacher, and his father was an amateur writer who worked also as a dining car waiter on the railroad, later becoming a chief steward at a very ritzy club in Baltimore. When Marshall's father would occasionally take his sons to court so they could watch the legal procedures and arguments presented. Afterwards, him and his sons would debate legal issues and current events together. Marshall's father would challenge his sons on the points they made, constantly encouraging them to prove their cases. Growing up in Baltimore, Marshall experienced the racial discrimination that shaped his passion for civil rights early on. The city had a death rate for African Americans that was twice that of Caucasians, and due to school segregation, Marshall was forced to go to an all-black grade school. Once he was unable to use the bathroom at the school because it was considered a public bathroom, and he had to find one reserved for black students. Marshall was accepted to Lincoln University in Oxford, Pennsylvania, known as the black counterpart to Princeton, and one of his classmates was the famous writer Langston Hughes. Marshall chose to focus more on the social life of college more than his academic life early on. Because of his intelligence, though, he was able to get through with little effort, but after getting suspended for hazing with his fraternity, he began to focus on academics. Marshall joined the debate club, which helped him realize his passion for becoming a lawyer. He also became more involved with civil rights and helped desegregate a local movie theater, which he later described as one of the most happiest and fulfilling moments in his life. After being denied by his first choice, the University of Maryland Law School, due to the color of his skin, Marshall decided to go to Howard University. He and his wife moved in with his parents, and his mother sold her wedding ring to help pay for his law school. There he learned about civil rights law and began to think of the Constitution as a living document. His mentors introduced him to the world of the NAACP, often bringing him to attend meetings and watch lawyers discuss key issues. One of the mentors who made the biggest impression upon Marshall was a man named Charles Houston, who taught him to defeat racial discrimination through the use of existing laws. Marshall graduated as valedictorian of his class in 1933 and moved back to Baltimore. Marshall started to volunteer with the NAACP, and eventually became one of their attorneys. He won his first case arguing that the University of Maryland Law School should allow an African American admission. In 1935, Marshall was appointed as Assistant Special Counsel for the state of New York in the organization. From then on, he began planning on how to have the Supreme Court overrule the separate but equal doctrine. He traveled to dangerous areas in the South in order to investigate lynchings, the denial of voting rights, jury service, and fair trials for African Americans. The face of the NAACP had soon become that of marshals. In 1940, the NAACP set up a legal activist organization known as Fund, Inc., of which Marshall was hired to be a special counsel. He was able to work toward this goal of challenging segregation in education. He won his first Supreme Court case dealing with forced confession, and after President Truman rejected the separate but equal doctrine in relation to the GI Bill, Marshall was ready to bring the education issue into the full light. Marshall finally got the case he had been hoping for, and in 1952 argued Brown v. Board of Education in front of the Supreme Court. The case was re-argued in 1953, and after 5 months of waiting, the Supreme Court delivered its opinion that invalidated the separate but equal doctrine, at least in education. In 1961, President Kennedy appointed Marshall as federal judge to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in New York City. Marshall spent 4 years on the court, and none of his opinions were reversed on appeal to the Supreme Court. In 1965, President Johnson called upon Marshall to be the country's next Solicitor General. Marshall was sworn into office, but only spent 2 years in the position. In 1967, President Lyndon Johnson appointed him as Associate Justice on the United States Supreme Court. So what were the political ramifications of Thurgood Marshall being sworn in as the first African American Associate Justice? First of all, Justice William Brennan, who was an existing member of the court, shared many of Marshall's opinions, and they usually voted in the same block on the belief that the United States had a moral imperative to move progressively forward. My goodness, let's start all over. He supported upholding individual rights, expanding civil rights, and limiting the scope of criminal punishment. Okay, so discussion 6 is on civil rights and civil liberties. To utilize the video lectures as the information for the discussion. So discussion 6 is to use the video lectures. Remember that. Your thread should be at least 150 words long in your discussion post, and your student response should be at least 100 words. And note, this is the last discussion post for the course. The rubric used to grade your discussion will be posted in the thread, as it always has been. Directions to take discussion 6. Go to the content folder in your iLearn. Click week 6. Start your thread. Follow the directions of the thread. And submit when concealed. Not concealed, concluded. Okay, so your online textbook reading is chapters 4 and chapters 5, and the quizzes that go with them. The textbook readings for the course are all online and noted as Smart Book. You're in week 6, you already know that, but I'm just posting this for you for your edification. You know when to complete the quiz at the end of the readings that you'll automatically receive the 30 points. You must complete the reading and the quizzes to be awarded those 30 points. To take the readings and the quiz in iLearn, you already know how to do this, but look at the slide in case you have problems. And as always, if you're having problems with things working out, please contact me and I'll help you as much as I possibly can. Okay, the video lectures for this week are entitled, the first one is Civil Rights, Civil Liberties, and then the second one is Introduction to Constitutional Law, 100 Supreme Court Cases Everyone Should Know. Now, that's a very, very long video lecture. It is okay with me if you just take part of that and use it for your discussion. But if you want to take it all, I understand completely. There's some great information in there, and I encourage you to use it. However, because it's so long, I understand if you just want to use partial contributions for your discussion, for discussion 6. Remember, these video lectures are to be used as the information for discussion 6. And as always, the textbook is not to be used for information for the discussions. Okay? All right, this is the exam for this week, the Civil Liberties and Civil Rights exam. Okay? The exam is open to take from Friday, October 1st at 12:01 a.m. to Sunday, October 3rd at 11:59 p.m. The exam is worth 100 points. There are 25 questions worth 4 points per question. Late submissions are accepted. However, you must know each day the exam is late, 20% of your final grade will be deducted. Unless you contact me and tell me why, or request an extension and tell me why it is. We'll discuss it and see how it goes, all right? But if you do not contact me, and then contact me late or when the exam parameters are over and then try to get an extension, you won't get it. You must give this to me prior to the exam being taken, okay? If there are problems with your internet taking the exam, please contact me as soon as you possibly can, and then we'll reconfigure it, and then you can we'll start it all over and you can take it again for if you've got problems with your internet. But you need to know something. If that is the case, it will alert, the exam will alert me if you lose internet. Please don't try to tell me if you've lost internet, but I can prove that you didn't. It's not worth it. Take the exam. Remember, it's about the readings, and so you should be very familiar with this already. So the directions to take the exam: go to week 6, then click on the Civil Liberties, Civil Rights exam, and follow the directions, and then click submit when concluded. You have 60 minutes to take it. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of time, but trust me, you'll have it done before the hour is up. If you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact me, okay? Okay, you should now be aware of the information and expectations of week 6. We only have 2 more weeks left of our class, guys. So good luck on your work. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me. And for all your hard work, you deserve a huge donut. Okay? All right, everybody, have a great week.